deserve what I did to them. I wanted to plead guilty because I want to accept responsibility for what I did.
All right, I'll tell you what happened. All right, so I got home. I got in an argument with my mom. She slapped me across the face. She began to hit me. She started beating me. I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death.
You threw her, you forced her to the floor, and you choked the life out of her. How'd that make you feel?
I felt nothing. Since I'm a minor, can I even go to prison? Is it like a thing?
Not only have I stolen my mother from myself, but from everybody else as well. Because of my actions, I will never get to truly know my mom.
This, to me, is so mind-boggling.
This is Dexter Johnson, who's on trial for double murder in Texas, according to reports on June 18th. In 2006, Johnson and his gang carjacked 23-year-old Maria Aparici, who was sitting in her car with 17-year-old Huo. The gang then drove them into a secluded area where Johnson assaulted Ari while her boyfriend was forced to listen. Johnson and an accomplice then took the couple to a nearby woods and executed them. The 18-year-old was arrested after police traced Ari's stolen credit card, which was used after the crime. Eventually, Johnson was found guilty of capital murder. Now, at his sentencing, the defendant is about to learn his fate.
Dexter Darnell Johnson, the jury has found you guilty of capital murder. In accordance with the laws of the state of Texas, this court hereby assesses your punishment of death. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is going to complete your jury service. I'm going to meet you in the jury room.
All rise.
Johnson went into shock, unable to stand up, while his family broke down in the gallery. Eventually, Johnson was cuffed and removed from the court, but the chaos was far from over, spilling out into the hallway. The situation got so out of hand that one officer had to call for medical attention for the distraught family. Applause members.
Hey, I'm gonna call an ambulance, ma'am. Do you want an ambulance? Yeah, I need an ambulance.
As for Johnson, his execution was later halted by a federal court citing intellectual disability. He is still on death row, while the Johnson family's outburst was truly spectacular. How does it compare to the actions of Michael Swanson, who's on trial for double murder in Carroll County, Iowa? In November 2010, 17-year-old Swanson reportedly stole his mother's Jeep and drove to 2 gas stations in northern Iowa, where he fatally shot both Sheila Mears and Vicky Bowman Hall during a robbery attempt. Shortly after, Swanson was arrested and charged with robbery and first-degree murder.
Police dashcam video taken hours after 2 convenience store clerks were murdered. The pictures show a calm Michael Swanson being taken into custody at a Webster City McDonald's after workers there spotted a suspicious vehicle.
The police found a ski mask and the gun he used to shoot the 2 store clerks in Swanson's Jeep.
Inside Swanson's stolen Jeep Cherokee, officers testified they found a ski mask, clothing, and weapons, including a handgun wedged between the driver's seat and console.
During interrogation, Swanson claimed he felt powerful while committing the murders.
How did it feel when you pulled the trigger? I mean, some people say that, it feels powerful or that it's kind of a rush, or what did you feel when you pulled the trigger?
I felt powerful, but I don't know, I just didn't really care.
How else did you feel?
It had no effect on me. I just didn't even care. I don't know, I just felt like my adrenaline was pumping, I felt good.
Okay.
He then went on to describe the shooting in gruesome detail.
And where did you shoot?
Around the body?
Yeah.
In the face.
In the face? Okay.
She made, some noise. And she just fell down. She kind of fell on the ground.
You said that she made some type of noise. What type of noise did she make?
I just kind of felt like she was surprised. It was like, ouch.
While being escorted to the courtroom, Swanson acted like a celebrity.
So why did you come to Iowa?
Oh no.
What's so funny? You're smiling.
Y'all are funny.
His defense initially sought a plea of insanity due to Swanson's troubled childhood and a history of untreated mental health issues.
You cannot hold him legally responsible for a condition he's born with, and that's exactly what happened.
A doctor who puts in his report that without antipsychotic medication, he's going to rob people, he's going to use weapons.
A court doctor who evaluated Swanson described the defendant's obsession with crime.
He had been quotes, planning something to this degree, including killing people. He said, I have always been fascinated by death and violence, and it was something that I wanted to do, murder and cannibalism.
However, Swanson later pleaded guilty to the murders.
I then intentionally, deliberately, and with premeditation shot the clerk, causing her to die. I did this with a specific intent to kill her.
At his sentencing, an emotional daughter of the victim addressed her mother's killer.
How could you do what you did to my mom and my family? I want to know if you're even sorry. My mom was not only completely 100% innocent, but she was also a defenseless woman when you came in with that gun. You said you did it for cigarettes and money and so no one could identify you, but I think that's a lie.
The husband of Sheila Myers was so distraught that the prosecutor had to read his statement. Then, the judge directly addressed Swanson, who shockingly found the whole situation funny.
And your counsel wants us to believe that you lack the capacity, that you were insane. And I don't buy into that. You are dangerous, you are unpredictable, and there is no place for you in an open, law-abiding society.
Ultimately, Swanson was sentenced to 2 life terms for the murders of Sheila Myers and Vicki Bowman Hall. While Michael Swanson showed no remorse in the courtroom, what happens when a convict breaks down in court, like in the case of Dylan Schumacher? Schumacher was accused of killing a toddler in Springville in March 2013. Schumacher was babysitting his 19-year-old girlfriend's toddler at their home when he allegedly beat the 1-year-old child to death when the baby wouldn't stop crying. The 16-year-old then called authorities, saying the child had stopped breathing.
Deputies, upon arrival, immediately noted the bruising about the face and head of the child.
First responders found the boy with bruises all over his body and gave him CPR, but baby Austin did not survive. Schumacher was arrested shortly after and charged with murder. His sister Alex claimed her brother snapped after being unable to cope with teenage fatherhood.
He got 2 kids dumped on him out of nowhere, and he just snapped.
Eventually, Schumacher was found guilty of second-degree murder. At his sentencing, the defense fought for the minimum sentence of 15 years to life.
Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
Schumacher also showed remorse for his actions.
I can't take back what was done, and I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin.
Schumacher pleaded his case with the victim's family.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
However, the judge called out the defendant's actions for trying to fool the court during the trial.
In Judge M. William Bowler's last words to Schumacher,
the record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me.
Finally, it was time for the child killer to learn his fate.
That you be sentenced to an indeterminate term of imprisonment, which will have a maximum of life. The court hereby imposes a minimum sentence of 25 years.
Ultimately, Schumacher was given the maximum sentence of 25 years to life in prison for the murder of young Austin, while Dylan Schumacher got a hefty sentence for the death of a toddler. What happens when a teenager kills his own mother?
So I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled it back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
Like in the case of Greg Ramos, who's facing murder charges in Valua County, Florida. On the afternoon of November 2nd, 2018, 15-year-old Ramos returned from school to find his home completely ransacked. Unable to find his mother, he called 911.
911, where's your emergency?
I just got home, and my house is completely trashed. It looks like someone broke in the side door.
Okay. How long have you been gone?
I've been gone all school day. I got home.
Are you there by yourself?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
Okay, I want you to stay on the phone with me. We are not going to disconnect until I have an officer that is with you, okay?
When authorities arrived, Ramos appeared distraught at first and gave them a list of things that the alleged burglars took.
I had a radio here, and I had an extension cord with an alarm clock, and then I had my $1,000 computer here.
However, police found inconsistencies in his story and brought him in for further questioning. This is when Ramos gave them a chilling confession.
All right, so I got home. I got in an argument with my mom. She slapped me across the face. She began to hit me. She started beating me. I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death.
Ramos admitted to strangling his mother, Gail Klinger, after the two got into an argument over his grades. He then went on to describe how he dumped the body of the 46-year-old.
When I drove back to the church, I began to dig a hole. I dig a hole right under the fire pit. I dug a pretty deep hole, pretty deep, deep enough to fit a body in, all right? All this time, my mom's decomposing body, I dragged it from my car to the fire pit, in which case I tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't. Threw her body in there, filled it back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home. And I caught a ride to school with my friends, and yeah.
After disposing of the body, Ramos cooked up a story to make his mother's disappearance look like a robbery gone wrong.
Middle of the night, I realized that, hey, my mom just up and disappears. That's not going to make any sense. So I decided to make it look like a botched robbery. So I just went to my house and I just threw shit everywhere, which looked pretty convincing.
Ramos was arrested and charged as an adult with first-degree murder, abuse of a dead body, and tampering with evidence. To avoid going to trial and a possible life sentence, the teenager pleaded guilty to all the charges against him.
Being guilty to first-degree murder, abuse of a dead human body, tampering with physical evidence. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ultimately, Ramos was sentenced to 45 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years for the murder of his mother.
I'm not standing here today to make excuses for myself. I'm here to honor and remember my mother. Not only have I stolen my mother from myself, but from everybody else as well. Because of my actions, I will never get to truly know my mom.
You freaking stupid? Huh? You freaking idiot?
This is Brian Holmes, a fiery teen who's turning Florida's highways into a shooting range. One September morning, 18-year-old Brian Holmes from Florida was involved in a dangerous road rage incident on State Road 415. Holmes, driving erratically and without headlights, rear-ended his soon-to-be victim's car.
Detectives here in Volusia say using license plate reading technology from here in the area, they were able to catch the suspect, 18-year-old Brian Holmes, within 20 to 30 minutes of the shooting. They say they were able to then arrest him at his house.
He then drove alongside her SUV, opening fire and striking her vehicle 7 times. Fortunately, the victim was unharmed. While Holmes admitted to firing at the victim's vehicle in an attempt to hit the tires, his victim painted a very different picture.
Plenty of cars going by, but that was them that were in front of me. Then they kind of moved to the right lane, and when I passed, they started shooting.
Volusia County Sheriff's deputies rapidly apprehended Holmes using license plate reader technology. During the arrest, a handgun fell from his waistline, contradicting his initial claim of being unarmed.
Step out of the car. Okay, you don't have a gun or anything on you, right, man? All right, step away from the car. Step away from the car. Step away. Stop. Stop. Stay there.
Brian Holmes was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, discharging a firearm from a vehicle, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and possession of a concealed weapon used in the commission of a felony by a person under 24. Brian Holmes' case was born out of a moment of madness. How does it compare with an 11-year-old preparing to bring death to his schoolmates? This is Quincy Tuttle, an 11-year-old who was about to settle a school squabble with summary executions of his schoolmates. Tuttle brought a .222 caliber handgun and over 400 rounds of ammunition to school, along with several knives. His alarming arsenal was discovered after his mother alerted the school about missing kitchen knives, leading to his arrest and a 2-hour lockdown at the school.
Prosecutors say a .22 caliber semi-automatic handgun was found and 2 loaded magazines.
Tuttle faced serious charges, including attempted assault, unlawful possession of a firearm and possession of a weapon at school. As the trial proceeded, a dark side of this 11-year-old emerged. Quincy Tuttle was sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile detention facility for his actions. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree attempted assault, theft of a firearm, second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm, and possessing a dangerous weapon on school facilities. But how does it compare to Austin Myers, who brutally murdered his schoolmate?
If you kill me, it won't fix anything. It won't bring Justin back. It's only gonna hurt more innocent people.
This is Austin Myers of Ohio, an amateur robber and convicted schoolmate killer. Austin Myers, alongside Timothy E. Mosley, was involved in the murder of 18-year-old Justin back in Waynesville, Ohio, on January 28, 2014. Myers, who knew his victim from middle school, planned the crime meticulously, seeking to rob back stepfather's safe.
Strangling them, that way it would create no mess, pretty much be an easier job to handle. Obviously, Justin was trying to put up a fight, and he wasn't overpowering us.
The plan tragically escalated as Myers and Mosley fatally stabbed and strangled back.
Myers and co-defendant Tim Mosley hatched a plan to burglarize and kill Justin, then carried it out inside the Navy recruit's home in Wayne Township. They choked him, stabbed him 21 times, dumped his body in Preble County, and then fired 2 rounds into it.
As the trial began, Myers faced several charges, including first-degree murder. He was accused of orchestrating the crime, despite Mosley being the one who did the fatal stabbing.
Mosley and Myers are each charged with aggravated murder and the death of 18-year-old Justin Back. Testimony
revealed Myers as the crime's mastermind, including efforts to acquire chemicals for body decomposition and firing twice at the body post-mortem. In an emotional statement, Justin Back's family expressed how crushing the whole incident has been on them.
Austin could have stopped it, but tells Justin, it's okay, it's almost over. You could have changed your mind many times, but you didn't. Especially when Justin was begging for his life.
I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how much I hate you. That is without question. I would just hope that every time you close your eyes at night, you see my son Justin. No, I've made a horrible mistake. I'm only 19 years old. I think there's a lot of good things I can do with my life if you allow me to keep my life.
Austin Myers was sentenced to death, becoming the youngest inmate on death row in Ohio at the time.
I understand how precious life is. The court finds that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the aggravating circumstance outweighs the mitigating factor. Therefore, the sentence of death shall be imposed upon Austin Gregory Myers on the charge of aggravated.
Bringing a close to the terrible episode, Austin Myers' future killing plans were stopped in their tracks. There was no such luck in our next case, where Marlon Joseph killed his mother's girlfriend and her young daughter. Meet Marlon Joseph, whose uncontrolled rage escalated an everyday kid's dispute to a full-blown double homicide. Marlon Joseph, residing in West Palm Beach with his extended family, was embroiled in a fatal altercation with a neighbor on December 28, 2017. A quarrel between Marlon's daughter and that of Kalata Cowell Kyra culminated in the brutal execution of both mother and daughter.
I heard the shots. I was just getting home. Me and my wife were just coming home. We heard the shots.
And you saw Kyra out
there? I saw that little girl laying out there, yes.
Joseph faced first-degree murder charges with mounting evidence and eyewitness accounts against him. Prior convictions did not help his case either. On February 26, 2020, his fate was sealed as Joseph received a death sentence, marking the first such sentence in Palm Beach County since 2002. The jury found the murders particularly heinous and premeditated, noting Kyra's age as an aggravating factor.
Jury has recommended 28-year-old Marlon Joseph be sentenced to death.
Now, this is the moment Joseph would learn his fate.
Marlon Maurice Joseph, you have not only forfeited your right to live among us, but under the laws of the state of Florida, you have forfeited your right to live at all. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered and adjudged that, as to count 1, for the first-degree murder of Kalata Cowell, Marlon Maurice Joseph shall be delivered into the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections at the Florida State Prison. You shall be confined there until a date certain selected by the governor of the state of Florida, and on that date you shall be executed in a method provided by Florida law.
Getting heated with your neighbors can lead to life-changing, terrible decisions, but how does it compare to Mackenzie Chill's jealous love turning into a double murder situation?
Sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose.
This is Mackenzie Chilla, an aspiring teenage model whose suicide attempt led her into a double murder trial in Ohio. A devastating crash claimed the lives of two young individuals. Mackenzie Chilla, driving at a harrowing 100 mph, crashed her Toyota Camry straight into a brick building without braking. Dominic Russo, 20, and Davon Flanagan, 19, Mackenzie Chilla's unfortunate passengers, were pronounced dead at the scene. It was soon discovered that Chilla's motive was to end her life after her once sweet relationship with Dominic had gone stale after a few weeks. As the trial began, Chilla faced mounting evidence from the prosecution of the cold, premeditative nature of her crime, attempting a half-successful murder-suicide with her boyfriend and his friend.
Kenzie's statement in the hospital to Detective Azu, "Can't you just take my license away for 10 years or something?" That statement is Mackenzie Cirillo. The most selfish person I know. Ironically, Dom was the most selfless person I know. Mackenzie Cirillo murdered Dom and Davion in cold blood and had already moved on. Kenzie killed Dom over the thought of losing him, and she made Davion collateral damage. She was driving, going to concerts, and dressing up for Halloween, no thoughts of the families and lives that she had destroyed.
On the other hand, Mackenzie's mother got the chance to address the court.
My name is Natalie Cirillo. I just want to say, am I allowed to address them? So in the hospital, that Vitality post, I commented on that because somebody had called her a murderer, okay? And she's not a murderer.
Expressing the profound heartbreak and loss she had endured due to her daughter's actions. Her emotional statement reflected the pain of losing not just her daughter, but also the two young lives that were taken in the crash.
Count one. The court, having had count one tried to pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Cirillo, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count one. Count two. The court, having had count two tried to pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Cirillo, guilty of murder, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02A, is charged in count two of the indictment.
As we come to the end of today's episode, these heartbreaking cases remind us of the devastating consequences that can arise from unchecked rage, jealousy, and impulsive decisions. From senseless violence to tragic loss, these stories serve as a somber reflection of the darkness that can sometimes reside within the human psyche.